welcome to Senior Travel Adventures, who is being rebranded as Ageless Adventures. And we are so happy this month. We have a really interesting guest with a something I think a lot of my viewers will really like. So, with me today is Andrew Motiwalla. He's been in the travel industry for 30 years and he created a concept that I think will be really beneficial to my viewers. So, thank you, Andrew, for joining me today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Debbie. I'm great.
Well, Andrew, I wanted to let my audience know that you are based in California, so that's interesting because a lot of our viewers are in California.
Okay.
But what was the spark that made you think this is something well, first of all, let's tell them what the good life abroad is. And then what made you think that this was something we should all have?
Great. Yeah, the Good Life Abroad is fundamentally a way for people 55 and older to live abroad in Europe for a month or more, but having a built-in community of fellow travelers, friends, really, in their own. Everyone has their own apartment, but it's all in the same building or in the same neighborhood. You have your own apartment, so it's independent. However, you have the support of our local staff person. We call them a community manager, and we have activities and events sprinkled throughout the month that you can come together with these other community members in their own apartments. They meet up for these events, get to know them, maybe form some friendships. But fundamentally, we are the bridge between sort of living abroad on your own and being like on a tour. So you have the support of a tour, you have in medical insurance, you have all that kind of risk management stuff happening, you have vetted apartments, you have activities and events, but it's still independent.
Right, right. So what made you think though that I mean, I know a lot of people they know about the traditional renting apartments through, the different vendors and whatnot. But what made you think this was something we should have?
Yeah. So I know myself, this is started out rather selfishly, let's say.
Okay.
I knew that in retirement, I would like to live abroad for some part of the year. I love being in California, and I'd love to be here for 7 months of the year, but I like to travel. And so I started going into these chat groups and forums and Facebook and whatnot, and seeing what kind of questions and concerns people had about going actually getting a place for a few months in Europe. And a lot of them, like the concerns made sense to me. Like, just first of all, yeah, anyone can get an apartment, but don't you get kind of lonely? Or wouldn't it be nice to have friends? If you're a solo traveler, especially.
Right.
Um, and then as we get older, we think about, well, what happens if I get hurt or sick or something comes up? Where's the support? Um, and then the other thing that we've all had happen to us is, the photos in the Airbnb don't always match up to the reality.
Oh yeah.
Um, and and that's fine for like a few days if I'm on a trip. But if I'm going to be somewhere for a month or two, it's going to be a little more painful, right? And so
Right.
making sure it's really vetted and like this is going to be a great place to stay. So all these different pain points, we thought, how do we solve this and make it really simple and turnkey for someone to say,
Right.
I want to live abroad, I'm going to press a button, and they're going to make it happen, and it's going to be amazing. And that's what we wanted to solve for.
And that's a really interesting concept because I know myself, I've wanted to go and spend more than a couple weeks in one location. Maybe, for me, it's probably a 2 or 3 week maybe, but I know a
Mhm.
lot of people might want to go for, a month or longer. But just getting started is so hard. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to stay? How do I know that the area is safe? First, particularly because I would go solo. So, how do you choose the cities and the neighborhoods where the community members might live?
Yeah. So the cities are a mix of kind of what we get requests for, and we get
Mhm.
when people find out about our concept, they're like, "This is amazing! Like, why don't you do it here?" And we're like, "Okay." We listen to our audience, but also we look at cities that are really walkable, that have a lot of layers to them, where you can really just keep exploring and exploring for a whole month and aren't going to get bored. So Florence is not a big city, it's a small city, but
Hmm.
I could spend years there and never get to the bottom of it, right? It's such a rich city. And of course, we're in some bigger cities too, like Paris. Paris is wonderful and Paris is endless. So we look for places where people can really sink their teeth into and be very happy to be there for a month. Although I would say some people, maybe 30% of our people will actually travel to nearby cities, on the weekends and whatnot. So
Yes, well, and public transportation in Europe is just a whole different animal than it is
yeah.
that we're used to. I mean, you can get everywhere so easily in most of Europe. That's one of the things. And I was actually in Florence last year, and we have a distant cousin who owns a place in Florence, and he does that. He goes back and forth between California and Florence. Um, so we will put up a list at the end of the show of where the locations currently are. And I think what do you think about the differences between like the longer stay or the shorter stay, and what does that mean in terms of what you do? So because I know right now you have 2 week stays and 1 month stays.
Yeah. So the core of what we do is the 1 month abroad. But what we saw happen is we'd have people come to Lisbon, for example, for a month. They do our program, and then they'd go up to Porto, and they'd end up spending a week or two there. And we're like, wait, why don't we offer that as a way to extend their experience? So do a month in Lisbon, 2 weeks in Porto, a month in Paris, 2 weeks in Nice, for example. And and we call them short stays. But you don't have to book them combined with a month long. You could book it on its own. And what we found is people doing 2 weeks in Edinburgh, 2 weeks in Porto, and then they make their own month in two different
Right.
places. Now, the difference for us is that in the month-long programs, you're really living like a local. We're giving you a really nice apartment, but it's in a building where regular local people live. And
Hmm.
we give you a roll of, paper towel to get started, toilet paper, some dish soap, some soap. But after that, you're going to the market, right? You're going to go to the market, you're going to buy your things, you're going to buy your groceries, and really do what locals would do. Now, because the 2 week short stay is only 2 weeks, we just want you to hit the ground running and not have to worry about some of these day-to-day living things. So in these ones, it's full service, like almost like an apartment hotel,
Hmm.
right? There's a front desk, your soaps are refilled, your toilet paper is refilled,
Okay.
and everything is just sort of handled for you. So it's a little more full service, and it gives you more time to just get out and explore.
And I'm sure you've heard this yourself because you've been around travel for a long time. This reminds me in some ways about the slow travel. That people want to go somewhere and immerse themselves into the culture. And so to me, when you're talking about going to the market to get your food, that's very exciting to me because one of my things when I travel, even hotel stays, I'm always at the markets. I love
Yeah.
markets. So that's really cool. And so community is a big part of what you do, right? So what are you not only provide the accommodation, but you also provide that sense of community. So can you describe how that looks to my audience?
Yeah, yeah. I think you're hitting on like two really key things. You said the word slow travel, and then you
Mm-hmm.
said community. And that's how I think about what we do is community-based slow travel, right? And so the community aspect, first of all, it's a cohort-based experience, right? So there's start dates where everyone arrives on the same day. Then we do orientation. We teach you how to live like a local, literally getting you on public transportation. We give you the Metro card or the subway card. Here's how you ride it. Here's how it connects to the buses or the trams or
That's good.
whatever. Grocery stores, houseware stores, teach you how to live like a local. But then we break because it's not a tour. These days are not full. We just kind of do things, right? So you have a lot of time on your own. But then we come back that first night in the evening, usually at a rooftop bar, there's drinks, there's food, and we get to know each other, facilitate the sense of community. And it's what our local staff does. And that's why we call them the community manager, because what they're doing, it's not just, oh, this is Debbie and this is Andrew, but like we'll do activities like icebreakers. Make a circle and step into the circle if you play a musical instrument, or if you paint or do any sort of art, because what they're doing is trying to bring connections between people and say, okay, I've got three music lovers in this group, and I've got four historians, I've got some of this, I got some of that, because over the course of the month, our community manager will be suggesting we use a text messaging app um, where you can create affinity groups. And so she might create a group for these musicians.
Okay.
Um,
Like
or
WhatsApp.
for, yeah, what we use WhatsApp's community feature, right? I
Okay.
know
Yes.
um, in Europe, everyone uses it. In the US, not as common, but well, great app. And so she's then going to be suggesting local things throughout the month as well. For example, hey, I love jazz, for example, and there's a student jazz recital happening at the local university. I wouldn't find that just kind of going on Google
Right.
and typing jazz clubs. Anyone can do that. But it's like, oh, cool. And then in that WhatsApp, I'll say, hey, who wants to go with me? And it's only in a group of, 16 people, maybe 7 or 8 people will come. Oh, why don't we go out to dinner first? Or we go to then to the concert and then drinks after. And suddenly I'm connecting with other people who have shared interests. And that's the beauty of the community,
Hmm.
that it can become a more social event. And we think in general, community is really important. It's important throughout life, but even more as we get older. And we can talk more about that. But I find in general, when you share experiences with others, that the joy amplifies, and it's really
Right.
fun to share. At least like, oh, and then afterwards you're at drinks and you're talking about, oh, it's so cool. We're at the university and that thing happened, and it's and you have this built-in community. It's really nice. That
Yeah.
said, I'm
Yeah.
still a pretty private guy. I like to have my alone time, so I like
Exactly.
I like the combination of both.
And that's what I drew me when I first, I actually found out about the Good Life Abroad a few years ago, and there was some social media stuff about in one of the groups, and everybody was very apprehensive. No one had heard of it. What does it really mean? Does it really exist? And so now we're, forward for a couple of years, and now, there's actual things that we can look at and see and tangible, because I do feel like there is that sense of there are all types of travelers. When you're a solo traveler, there's all types of travel. For me, just what you said, I like to have my option to be with other people when I want to and have my privacy or do my own thing. If I want to go to a museum and spend 3 hours in one room, I want to do that on my own. And that's important to me. So that's what drew me to want to have you here today, because I do want people to know that this exists, that they can have the best of both worlds, more or less. They can do that longer stay experience in a city but still have somebody there. Somebody's in the background, and if they do need, help, there's help right there, and they don't have to navigate around. And most of my audience is mature, and so that's important. And yours is you're 55 and up, right? That's your.
Correct. Correct.
Do you have this is not what we had mentioned, but can people bring a younger person or no?
If they have a partner or a spouse, we have a fair number of people say, "Hey, I'm 58 and my partner is 55." Yeah, that's not a problem. But
Okay.
the intention is it's not for families to bring your
Right.
kids, and it's not for these young professionals, the digital nomads, who are just kind of working but living abroad. For the
Hmm.
most part, our people are semi-retired or retired, or they're on boards and things like that. But they're really out to enjoy themselves while they're there.
Well, that's important too, because the mix of things is very important. There was some, you know, s- I know I love my grandkids, but I don't, when I'm doing stuff, I don't need to be worrying what that they're bored or whatever. So you have these organized activities, social hours, things like that. Do you have, you said about the app and that people can get together, but is there also a way where like you have an organized activity to get on a train and go for an hour outside of town?
Yeah, yeah. So um, every week, So we have a welcome party and we have a farewell party. But during the rest of that month, we have three activities a week that we do.
Okay.
Tuesdays, we have a tradition called the Tuesday Lunch Club. And the idea of this is not just to have lunch, but to take the group to parts of the city or maybe even neighboring towns that they wouldn't go to on their own and just expose them in different parts of the geography. And then we pre-order a bunch of appetizers and starters to teach them about the culture through the food. And
Okay.
then everyone orders their own main dish. And of course, you're there with the community, and the wine is flowing, and friendships are being formed. So that's a beautiful thing we do on Tuesdays. Wednesdays is some kind of cultural activity, and that can be a cooking class, a art workshop. We have flamenco dance workshops. I mean, you name it. It's something that reflects the local culture, and that's fun. And then we get together. It's a few hours, but then you're done. You can be off on your own again. You don't have to get back on the bus, right? Which
Right,
is
right. Well,
why
that's
our
it.
people.
Tour. The tours are always, here you got free time, but at 10 o'clock we're gonna be here and yeah, and there's advantages to that
Yeah.
too. But sometimes you're just like, I wish I would have more time here, or that I didn't have to be go from point A to B in an hour. Let me go shop some more. So what is there any like meaningful moment? I mean, have you seen a lot of friendships develop? I know it's a new concept, but any return people that say, "Hey, let's meet next year at this time?"
So I will tell you, Debbie, this has been fascinating. We've only been around for a few years, as you know, and I was recently visiting one of our alumni. They live in Northern California, and I happen to be in the area, and they have been on three of our programs already in just a few years. And I said, so I want to get to know you more, like understand, our customers. I said, Andrew, once we discovered the good life abroad, we realized that's how we want to travel. So our lives now are about
Wow.
looking at what we want to do next. Then we book it, and then we research. We research the subway lines, we research the restaurants, everything. They really get into it. It's so much fun for them. And then
Yeah,
we do the thing, and we make all these friends, and then we go visit the friends when we come back to the US.
that's
And then we go and we do the next one. And this is our life. And I want to do it, Andrew, as long as I'm physically able to be doing these things. And I think the reason why is often in retirement, there's kind of a like identity crisis. Like, who am I now, right? I'm no longer the accountant. I'm no longer the parent at the PTA, right? What's my identity? And what people find on our program, because it attracts a unique breed of traveler. You can understand, like, to go one place for a month is
hmm
a little weird. Uh, but they find their tribe. They find their tribe. And to me, this is one of the most beautiful moments where people say, I hold travel and cultural appreciation as a core value, and I found all these other people that share that. And
right.
this is my group. And we even have, so we announce all new programs to alumni first. And then the alumni, they jump on it. And often just yesterday, we finished our first group in Sevilla, and it was like 75% all alumni from different programs. And they said, we just know the type of people who come on this. They're super fun. People are outgoing. They like that, they get it. And so they just know that our community is a community they want to be part of, not just in that one session, but around all of our programs in Europe.
Well, it's funny you said that because before I even knew, like we were involved in another presentation, and that's how I learned more about this. But before that, I had just looked online to see what was available, and some stuff was already booked. Times where I wanted to be somewhere. So, oh, that didn't work. Well, so if someone was watching right now and said, I'm really intrigued by this, I'm not sure I'm ready, what would you say to them right now?
I would say go to our website, but even better, if you're on Facebook, type in the Good Life Abroad community. We have a private Facebook group for past travelers and present
Oh,
travelers. And there's
great.
like thousands of people in there, and they're just sharing their experiences.
Oh,
I
that's good
think
to
just
know.
go and follow along and watch. Every group, people get on there. The group arrived in Split, Croatia just the other day, And she posted a photo. She's like, "Oh, this is so beautiful. I love this little cafe that's next to my apartment. I'm going to go there, every day." And and you just get a sense directly from people about what this experience feels like. Um, and so I think just do that. And when the time is right, you'll know it, and you just can jump in and join us.
Well, you made me think of another question. How many of the people coming to these locations are from North America?
Yeah.
Majority?
So we're 90% US and about 8% Canada. And then we've got our random other, Australian or Brit that shows up, but that's pretty
Okay.
much North America.
Okay, because that would be, I know sometimes there are actually like cruise lines that when people have gone and they didn't realize that there were only be the only English speaking people on the boat,
Yeah,
and that's just, when you're trying to make friends, it's a little challenging,
a
even
little
with Google
challenging.
Translate. Well, thank you so much for this. I'm very excited. I know I've been talking to Elaine about like how to figure out how to go. With all the travel that I do. But anyway, this has been so fascinating, and I'm so excited that this exists. I'm one of those. One of the things I do with my show is I don't do sales per se. I do
Yeah.
education and information.
Mhm.
So I love to promote and talk about things that I think are important to making us age. I feel like adventure's ageless, and I like things that are different but yet secure because
Yeah.
safety's so important when we travel. So thank you again for coming on my show today. I know you're busy, and I'm so happy that you could be here today, and hopefully I'll get to visit and at some point and see how it all works.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, we'd love to have you at the Good Life Abroad. And I appreciate your time and thanks for giving us a shout out. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I actually shouted out already in my newsletter, and it looks like you got quite a few clicks. So I don't know. I'm hoping people are looking at it. So I gave a little blurb and I put the link and off they went. So that's good.
Great. Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Well, take care. Thank you so much.
Take care, Debbie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you're living with spinal stenosis, sciatica, or any other spine issue, you're not alone. And you do have options.
I was flat on my back. Kind of severe back pain.
At Excel Health, we offer a free MRI review with experienced, fellowship-trained spine surgeons.
I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm active, so
Our minimally invasive procedures mean most patients are walking just hours after surgery. Call Excel Health today and let's talk about what we can do for you.
April in California, that's where nature really shows off. Picture this. You start your morning strolling through the flower gardens down in Carlsbad, or you take a giant orange balloon ride. Yeah, we can do that. You can go to the film festival. It's not just for film buffs. Think coastal glam, foodie, everything, maybe spotting a celebrity. If you're more of a flip-flops and ocean breeze, April is great for whale watching out of Dana Point Harbor. And trust me, seeing whales never gets old. And bottom line, April in California is the sweet spot. Sun shines, fewer crowds, and just enough happening to make you feel like you stumbled onto something special. So the only real question is beach day or tacos? Stay tuned.
What if healing wasn't about masking pain, but restoring your body's ability to heal itself? At the Goswami Clinic, Dr. Gaurav Goswami has spent over 15 years helping patients recover using advanced stem cell therapy. By using your body's own cells, we help treat orthopedic, spine, and sports injuries so you can get back to living an active life. With cell banking, you can preserve your strongest cells, protecting your future mobility for decades to come. Call today to book your consultation.
Thank you for joining me today on Ageless Adventures, formerly known as Senior Travel Adventures. I appreciate you viewing me each month, whether it's on Village Television, CMAC, or on YouTube. I am so happy that you're here. I do want to make a little announcement about something. So, last month I talked about Morocco. And some of the people that were on the trip with me said I was a little bit harsh about the hotel. And I said, okay, I will say something this episode that I am very honest in my critiques, in my reviews of my trips. I tell it like it is. So, in my perspective, a room that had mold and had to be moved 3 times was a problem. But I loved Morocco. I would not let that change my mind about going again. So I want to mention that. And then as far as the bus ride, again, I'm just being honest about the bus. Some of us who are a little bit older, the bus ride is tough, but it again is worth it. So for those who watched me and watched my Morocco episode, sorry if that seems too tough, but it wasn't meant to be harsh. It was meant to be honest. And that's what I want to be on my show always about my travels is what was great, what wasn't so great. So keep that in mind. I hope you enjoyed today's episode about the good life abroad. I really hope that I'm going to get a chance to go experience it so I can come back and let you all know exactly how it went down. So again, thank you always for watching the show and safe travels.